And also, you'll see some variation in players. What they do, what they like is more comfortable. You'll see some players will have their front leg bent like that and their back leg straight, something like that. Or they'll be more even, a little bit like that. The thing to keep in mind here is if you do bend your front leg more, keep your balance. Don't go chasing your weight all up like this, bringing your weight up here, because that's not what's really going on when you see a player like that. They're actually still balanced. The front leg is bent, but their balance is back here, like that. So whatever you do, maintain your balance, and it's going to benefit you greatly in the long run. Okay, now from this angle, what I'm going to do is bend down, pretend I'm picking something up like that, and notice where I am when I pick that up. Here we are. Turn my head that way, put my hand out there. My shoulder's already right here over the stroking line. Look that way, put my hand out, and now my elbow line up over here. And you can see what's on the stroking line. My bridge hand, my grip hand, my elbow, my shoulder, and my foot. And my body's over here. My left foot as well. Alright, now we'll check it out on the table. Alright, so here we are with the table and the stroking line. Just to show you what it looks like. Okay, notice how my body is over here on this side of the stroking line of my hand, my elbow, my shoulder. All here on the stroking line. My foot is underneath here. And also, if I just stand here like this, my eye is over here on this side of the stroking line, so I'm not looking down the stroking line. So in order to get there, all I'm going to do is that move where I'm on the way bending down, but I just go to here to where I'm on this vertical plane, but I'm way up here, so I can look right down the stroking line, have my body out of the way, have my arm be lined up in the stroking line, and I can put my arm out here. Now I'm looking at the stroking line the entire time that I'm coming down into the shot. And it makes it much easier to be on line when you do that. And the power of doing it this way, notice how I'm down here. Now watch this. I could actually shoot left-handed here. I'm keeping my same body alignment. And we talked so much about balance last time. See that? Now I just put that out here. Have the alignment over here. Now I'm over my left foot with my stroking arm. So that's what you're looking for. Now in terms of your arm, just a little bit on body mechanics, your shoulder is a ball joint, so it can go any direction. Your elbow is a hinge joint, it only goes one direction. So if I do this, that's actually my elbow joint, the ball joint, and my shoulder joint going that way. But the elbow only goes in one direction. So this is very valuable for our stroke and for our setup, because when we're down here like this, if we have our shoulder on the stroking line, the elbow on the stroking line, now of course the hand is there too, there's only one direction for the cue to go, and that is straight. So it just goes straight by virtue of your body mechanics, and that's the beauty of setting up your stance like this. So if I do more of a stand-up stance, you can see my forearm right here. And then when I come down, you can see how my elbow is lined up on the stroking line also. And you've probably seen players who have a sidearm stroke like this, where their elbow is way over here, but of course their hand is still on the stroking line. And one thing that enables them to do is keep their hand away from their body. Even though their elbow is over here, Some players develop that because when they're kids, they can barely reach over the table and they can't get their elbow way up here, so they're shooting like this. So they remain like this as they develop, and they've developed their coordination and their stroke to be able to do that. So the beauty of having your elbow there is it's in line with the natural mechanics of your elbow joint and your shoulder joint. So what does it look like, the throwing motion in pool? We talked about all the other sports and the motion that you do. So when you don't have a cue, this is the simplified throwing motion that your hand goes through. Notice, okay, you're not hitting your body. If you hold your arm out about like this at this angle, see how you have that free range of motion right in here? Right, so watch this. I'm going to keep my arm right here, and now I'm going to just bend at my hips. I'm not going to change anything. Come down here. You see that? Naturally it wants to be there. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about how to get your eye on the stroking line, or more clearly your dominant eye, because that's what's going to be on the stroking line. Everybody's different in terms of where your center of vision is, and we all have different dominant eyes. I'm more on my left eye right here, and if you're right eye dominant, you're not going to have to come over this far to look down the stroking line. Obviously you'd be more over here. So theoretically you could actually turn your body a little bit more. It would be easier for you to do that and keep your body away from the cue, because your eye is right over that line. So your arm and your right eye over here. But to have your left eye over there, then you're going to bring your head over a little bit further, like that. So figure out what your dominant eye is, and that's what you want to get on the stroking line, or wherever your center of vision is. It might be just right in the middle of your nose, and that's what you want to have on the stroking line, even at the standing position. And it really runs together. The stroking line is what ties in your stance, your stroke, and your aim. They're all interrelated, so you really need to be able to find the stroking line in order to set your foot up. That's the first thing that you need to find in order to find where you're going to put your right foot. So let's talk about that. Alright, so what happens if we set up too close to the cue ball in our stance? Let's see, here I am. Notice I'm putting all my weight on my back foot over here, and I'm definitely off balance. And we don't want that. Okay, so what happens if we set up too far? Aha, my weight is forward now, up on my left leg. We don't want that either. So in striving for balance, what we want is to be the proper distance from the cue ball, and if we can do that, then we're going to be balanced every time. So that's how important it is to be aware of your distance between yourself and the cue ball. It's really important, and you can actually set up for this just by being aware of that. You don't actually need a system. Just by keeping your eye on the cue ball, you'll just know where to set up. So the more you play, it'll just come natural to you. I find a lot of beginners and people trying to get to the next level find their sticking point, or one of the things they have a challenge with is getting the right distance from the cue ball. Or when I'm just showing somebody this stance, anytime you make a change in your alignment and stuff, it can distract you from being the right distance from the cue ball. So I'm going to give you a couple different ways how to do that. And one of them will be basically just put the Q-tip right here, right by the edge of the cue ball. Okay, first actually get down in your stance. Okay, where where you're nice and comfortable, find a good stance, and now put your tip there. Stand up and check out where your back foot is in relation to the cue. And here I am, I'm right by the back of the cue stick. So now I know that all I have to do to develop the right balance in my stance, I can walk into the shot, place my tip right here exactly. If you're off an inch, then you're going to be off balance, so you don't want to be having any variation in how you do that. So make sure you put that in the precise location. And now make sure it's on the stroking line, and drop your back foot in where you found to be comfortable. And there you go. Now everything you do, just get into your stance like normal, everything is going to fall into place perfectly just because of your back foot. So you know your distance here, you know that when you bend over this way, your hand is going to come out right where it needs to be. Right? So that's real powerful. And when you're doing this right here, and you're trying to place your back foot, be careful not to do one of these things because now that's going to take your foot off of the stroking line. So as you do this, keep that cue right here on this line. You can even stand up right close to the cue so your eyes are above and you can look down, place your foot. Okay, now you're fine. You can pretty much get in there in your sleep, in your stance. Another way to do it would be to actually get behind your cue. Alright, get behind the cue, balance on your left foot, put your right foot out here, and then come in like that. Okay, let me do it where there's a little bit more room. Okay, here we go. On the stroking line, I'm standing here actually, my feet, the stroking line is right here now. Okay, so I'm going to stand right on the stroking line, look down it. I'm going to get way behind my cue over here. Now I'm going to balance on my left foot in this case. I'm going to put my right foot where I know it should be under the back of the cue. And I can see that it's on the stroking line because my eyes are on the stroking line. And now, there it is. My right foot is in place. All I got to do is step forward with my left foot. And now I'm ready just to come down into my stance. There we go. Alright, now let's address where to grip the cue back here in your grip hand. And the answer is that there is no answer. That it depends on you, it depends on your height, how broad your shoulders are, how long your arms are, how long your bridge is, in other words from your hand right here to the cue ball. So that all is going to affect where you grip the cue. And what I don't really like is a rule of thumb where you use the balance point and then say 8 inches beyond the balance point, back behind the balance point. There is no one size fits all. So a general guideline to use is that at the moment the cue tip is at the cue ball, you want your back arm straight up and down. So right here at this moment, your back arm could be straight up and down. And I find that for me it actually changes a little bit depending on, a lot of times when I have a long shot I'll hold it further back here. A little bit shorter shot like this, I'll come up right up in here. But what you don't want is you don't want to be extreme way up in here because now you have no follow through. This is mainly a beginner problem, but it's a good thing to address, and the longer you play you're going to find where to hold it. But I don't want figuring out where to grip the cue to limit you, so what you're going to do is set up in your stance, put the tip by the cue ball, and then hold it so you're straight up and down over here. Now if I change the angle of my body also, look how that brings my right shoulder over here. So I would actually be holding it like that if I had a stance like that. So as you have a more open stance to the cue with your shoulders, as your shoulders open up here, now it gives your wingspan a little bit more length and you're going to naturally hold it back here. So work with that. the basic idea is that you have a pendulum motion. So you have your backswing back here, you're coming through, you're hitting the cue ball, and now you have room to follow through. Alright. Okay, as far as your stance, I just want to encourage you to work hard at this, because usually it feels pretty weird when you implement something new in your alignment. And even if you change your stroking arm, the angle, whether you're coming from here to here or from out here into here, you're still going to have all the touch that you were born with and that you've developed. And it really is not going to take too long till it actually starts working for you. You might actually feel the benefit right away, and that's what I notice in a lot of my students, is that they can feel how powerful it is once they get it, even in the first 5 minutes. Although it might not take 5 minutes to get used to it. When I made this change in my stance, it actually took like 3 months till I really had it mastered, and that's working hard at it every day, and all my practice was really focused on my stance and setting it up, working on my stroke. But I had been playing for over 10 years before that point. But you can do it, is all I want to say. Stick with it, work on all of these points one at a time, and then start putting them together, and you'll really feel happy as you start making balls really easily, and you can feel the power of this alignment. You just got to try it for yourself and stick with it. Okay, the other thing is that you might already have a really effective stance and stroke, and you might just need to change one or two things. Maybe you know that you want to make a change. And you might find that one idea that I've given you has helped you out and has been all that you need. So keep in mind, I'm not trying to make it to where everybody's cookie cutter has a cookie cutter stance right here. You can definitely implement this strategy though exactly like I say, and it will turn out great for you. Or if it just never feels comfortable 100%, just by doing this you'll have increased body awareness and awareness of what's going on in your stance, and it could help you out, even just one idea here. So there you go, work hard, and we'll see you in the next section. Okay, in talking about the stance, I've mentioned the importance of placing your feet, and how placing your feet in a certain way can help set up your upper body with good alignment that we've gone over. And that's true, your feet will play an important part in setting up your upper body. I do want to point out though that you can do whatever you want with your feet if you know what you're doing with your upper body. As long as you're balanced, there's a lot of things you can do. So for instance, here's my stance. I could potentially do this without changing my upper body that much. I could do this. I could get on one foot back here, and my upper body stance is just the same as when I was down here in my perfect foot position. So you really want to work on your upper body stance. Two parts of your stance, your lower body and your upper body. You got to get your alignment for your upper body worked out. And the alignment that we've gone over with having your arms straight up and down is excellent, and lining it up with your shoulder. If you can't bring yourself to do that, and you have to have your arm close to your body, either with your arm angled in or just your elbow close. If you have to do that, then you're going to have to put a lot of work into making sure that you develop your stroke and learn how to avoid your body by dropping your elbow. So it is possible if you insist on sticking with that method. Because, as before I said, a lot of problems can be caused by having either too short of a stroke or going offline. So you have to be aware of that, develop your stroke the best you can, or go ahead and change your whole upper body alignment so it all works together and you have no problems. And the time spent doing that will be well worth it, and you can do it. Alright, now knowing that you can do a bunch of different things with your feet and still keep your upper body alignment the same has very practical applications, especially when having a shot where the table's in your way. And it's going to come up all the time, so you have to be able to deal with it. You have to know your stroking line and get your body over to avoid the stroking line. and then balance on the table somehow. So I'm going to be up on my right toe here. I'm going to put my weight here. This is going to become my stance, part of my stance, the table. And I'm going to set it up so my upper body alignment is basically the same as it always is with that follow through. So you see how I can transfer that upper body stance back to my normal stance. So you're going to have to learn a bunch of different ways to do this because there's just a bunch of different situations. Here I'm going to put my leg, my left leg up on the table here, and then turn my upper body as much as I can. I might not be able to perfectly get your upper body alignment the way you want it every time, but try to get as close as you can. And maybe you're going to have to pull out the mechanical bridge or shoot left-handed. But you'll be surprised at just how many shots you can reach by stretching. And when you do that, you're going to want to hold the end of the cue. I see a lot of people, they'll try to hold the cue up here and stretch. Just makes sense to hold the back of the cue back here. And if the cue ball is further, now you can put your bridge might be underneath the joint over here in your hand back here. But I still have upper body alignment like that. You might have to use the bridge. It all depends on the situation.